About a year ago, the athletic directors from Mississippi State and Kansas State were at a function, had a good time together, and then tweeted each other that they had a good time. Hey, can't wait to see you. And then one of them, I believe the Kansas State athletic director, correct me if I'm wrong, said our two football teams should play. Wow, a team from the Big 12 playing a team from the SEC, Mississippi State, and home and home series. That's what we like to hear. That's what Mississippi State needs each and every year. The Bulldogs typically don't play anyone. 2015, don't play anyone. It's the sixth most difficult schedule in the SEC, only because they play, of course, in what we have to consider at this point. We don't have to consider, but I still do, the toughest division in college football, the SEC West. I think there's some dispute there. The Pac-12 South is difficult, and if Michigan is close to being Michigan this year, then the Big Ten East could be on its heels. But for right now, the SEC West, despite the debacle during postseason play, and Mississippi State took part in that in losing in a pretty substantial fashion to Georgia Tech in the Orange Bowl. Mississippi State in the SEC West took a downer last year. Still the toughest division in my eyes, but got to play somebody out of conference. So if you're going to be considered for the college football playoff, now if Mississippi State would win all of its games and win an SEC championship game, of course, they will have earned the right to get to the college football playoff, unless, of course, every other Power 5 champion went undefeated and actually played somebody out of conference. So trying to ease my way off the soapbox, Mississippi State has out-of-conference games against Southern Miss, Northwestern State, Troy, and Louisiana Tech. So that's 4 gimmies on its way to 6 postseason, or 6 wins needed to get to postseason play. In division, they're tough. Auburn, Alabama, LSU on down the line. Who does Mississippi State have to play out of division? Well, Mississippi State and Ole Miss get the light touch in Kentucky and Vandy. So the cross-division rivalry for Ole Miss was designated as Vanderbilt, and for Mississippi State, it's Kentucky. Doesn't get any easier than that. Kentucky, when I say not easier than that in other conferences, yes, but in the SEC in recent years, Kentucky has been the worst team year to year. And so that's Mississippi State's date against Kentucky in Starkville on October 24th. Their other game, non-division, a difficult task in taking on Mizzou, a fringe, what we expect to be a fringe top 25 team, and that's the next week, or the next game, in fact, after a bye week, November 5th. So Mississippi State's schedule, again, SEC West, rugged. Best division in college football. 2 games against the SEC East, they fare pretty well. They could have drawn, let's say, Georgia and Tennessee, but they drew Kentucky, cross-division rival, and Mizzou. So not too bad for Mississippi State there. And then the 4 gimmies in non-conference play, Mississippi State, I believe, on down the line, in addition to Kansas State, picks up a Georgia Tech, which they played about 10 years ago, home and home. They have to play those kind of games. Everybody has to play those kind of games. And it drives me crazy that teams like Ole Miss and Mississippi State don't this season. Vandy hasn't for the last few. North Carolina State. So it's not just the SEC. There's a few teams in other conferences, not many, a Duke, a North Carolina State, that don't play anyone. The Big Ten has been mandated to play a Power 5 conference team, and most of them are very difficult games, if not 2 difficult games. Again, for Mississippi State, nobody out of conference, and it's still the 6th most difficult schedule in the SEC because the West is so tough. Need to hear from you, Bulldog fans. Maybe you want to blast me. Go right ahead, right here on Mark Rogers TV.